We all know and are familiar with the three words space, walls, and power. But what do they mean and what is their interest with architecture? These three concepts in the order of space, walls, then power create a profound sequence in which one influences the next. They are specifically organized to reveal their relationship to architecture. Here's how it goes. Space is defined as an area or expanse that is free, available, or occupied by the given dimensions of height, depth, and width. This idea of dimension is only reached by what creates that dimension. Walls are continuous structures that enclose or divide land. Walls have an immense impact on the community, city, and world. They separate the weak from the strong, the poor from the rich, and express power. Power has the capacity and the ability to direct and influence the behavior of people, places, or ideas. The Panopticon by Michael Foucault is a prime example of this exercise of authority and control. So what is the main idea? The concept of space, walls, and power are utilized by architects for the purpose of improving the quality of life, but some architects who encourage their use fail to understand that the three concepts, when analyzed throughout history, have the tendency to separate communities, prevent the interaction with society and culture, and instill fear in the eyes of the population.
In history, there has been a distinct standard of judgment in which careful containment of individual compartments were used to preserve self from others. In Figures, Doors, and Passages by Robin Evans, the author presents the argument of a free plan versus a circulation plan. Both arguments are presented to show their interaction with the human experience of a building. However, we argue that the free plan proves more effective as the home is considered a machine, and how less friction equals a smoother machine. Since space is created by structures or walls, a free plan allows for the individual to not be controlled by the grandeur of the home, but rather be capable, liberated, and opening to interpreting the home in all of its entirety. Evan explains that in the Villa Madame, uniformity was restricted to the parts where it could be immediately apprehended. The building seems to have been conceived as an accumulation of enclosures. Walls and structures create boundaries, not just in communities but in residential neighborhoods as well. They prevent the natural flow of human interaction by sectioning one from the other. In practice, walls, doors, windows, and stairs are employed first to divide and then selectively reunite space.
In countries such as Brazil, the idea of walls constructed by the new communities named closed condos by Teresa Caldeira is useful and necessary in the fact that they provide security and safety to their residents. Caldeira describes enclaves are opposed to the city, which are represented as deteriorated worlds of pollution, noise, and social heterogeneity. While safety and security are an issue, we argue that walls create a certain aspect of suspicion and hierarchy. From her essay City of Walls, closed condos are not an isolated phenomena, but the residential version of new urban form that creates segregation. For example, walls create a certain feeling among both the rich and the poor. For the poor, the walls represent the affluence of the powerful, and for the rich, the walls separate the elite from their own community and surrounding people. Many of the rich have become accustomed to the lifestyle of walls and separation. We agree that walls allow the possibility to distance oneself from the real world, but it is then impossible to interact with any culture or society. This describes the field of architecture, where it is absolutely necessary to be in constant interaction with one's intended and surrounding context. The architect must interact with society in order to achieve three things: to receive maximum reward and satisfaction from the community, to allow the communities to actively utilize the constructed concepts in adhering to their customs, and to keep oneself as a valid, diverse, and interactive architect. Architects are not capable of creating their own context. When working with a constructed site, opposed to working with a cleared site, the architect must truly adapt to a selected space. If incapable in doing so, the architect seems to follow Stan Allen's concept of dumb theory by not allowing external influences and causing the constructed object to turn inwards, away from contingencies. For further historical context, the Great Wall of China is a good example of power and security. While primarily used for protection for the Chinese Empire against various nomadic groups in the north, the wall was a proud achievement and was regarded as a symbolic power for the Chinese state. Again, power is created by walls.
When analyzing the power that has been created around specific architecture, one can clearly visualize the panopticon, the circular structure in which one single watchman observes all who are present without their awareness. Foucault explains, it is not the form of the panopticon which controls behavior, but the power differential between the warden and the inmate. The power of the watchman is unrestricted. To emphasize the author's argument, the inmate is seen without seeing, and the warden sees everything without being seen. We argue that the experience of power created by the panopticon is applicable to certain functions that are described by Foucault, for prisons and other correctional facilities. In dealing with subjects such as prisons, where separation is the key component, the panopticon proves to be a prime example of how architecture has a gateway for power. The panopticon has one sole purpose: to exercise its power in ways to control the inmates. This idea of power, however, is too extreme for any other use in the world. We strongly disagree with Foucault's idea of the universal application of the panopticon for schools. Architecture is the force that defines the experience of how people interact and respond to a certain space, but this concept is not ideal for schools.
While space, walls, and power can have a practical application to architecture, there is a potential negative implication in regards to one's experience of a structure.